Teachers of Reddit, what's your most NSFW story from your workplace? In high school, we had a beloved teacher and I'm still friends with him to this day. However, he viewed taking attendance as a big waste of time, and his class was enjoyable, so kids rarely skipped it, so he'd just give the class a once over, and try to notice if anyone was missing, and sometimes kids would yell out that a kid was sick. Well, on this particular day, he marked everyone as present, including a kid that was not in class, as he was busy murdering his uncle. So the teacher had to go to court and say on the record that no, he is not providing an alibi for the student, he's just terrible at attendance. The administration really got on his ass about attendance after that, and he was good about it for a few years, and then he went back to his old ways, saying it's very unlikely I'll have another murder during my class. I watch a lot of true crime stuff and my first thought halfway through your story was, what if a kid goes missing? Then it took a more gruesome turn. Lol. A girl posted videos to Vine of her penetrating herself with a banana and a hairbrush. Kids quickly found out it was her, and almost every campus around knew about it. She was deemed Banana Girl, and she graduated early to avoid bullying. Sad part is, she actually died in a car crash a few years later. I subbed at a school once where we had a special ed kid who would not stop pooping in the stairwell. They had teachers escorting him from one class to another. He was theoretically supervised at all times, and yet every week or two he managed to slip away long enough to drop a deuce in the stairwell. I still pity that poor janitor. I'm a 7th/9th grade teacher. I'm only in my first year. Apparently an 8th grade student, 14 years old, was getting called a slut and other students were saying she was sleeping with 4 guys every week. She then stood up in my class, turned to the people harassing her, and yelled, "I've only fucked 2 guys this year, so shut up." Being a large man in his early 20s, I completely ignored the situation and just asked everyone to quiet down and get to work. It was very uncomfortable. I have too many. The one that sticks out the most is the time my teaching partner and I were working after school. He went down to hall to use the bathroom and saw a line of high school boys coming from out of the girls' bathroom. He taps one on the shoulder and asks what's going on here. Lo and behold, an honors student was in the girls' handicap stall letting the boys' basketball team run train on her to get them pumped up for the state playoffs. Of course she was expelled, but was allowed to walk for graduation in May. Some people let their freak flags fly. This chick was 6 freak flags over Texas. And if she'd just gone into the boys' bathroom, no one would have known. Caught 2 students having sex on top of a slide on the playground after school. It was one of these slides with the covered waiting area at the top. Her face was sticking out of the front of it, and his ass and feet were sticking out of the back. She saw us, another teacher and I, first and started screaming that she was stuck on the slide. He freaked out, banged his head on the inside and essentially tumbled back down the steps while trying to get his pants up. They were 5th graders BTW. Holy shit. That is the only response to this story. School maintenance here. Point to come to mind. At one middle school a boy came running into the office to tell everyone that he saw 2 people in a stall together in the bathroom, and that a girl had been blowing a guy, and that the guy had a huge dick, but I can't remember what word he said. He didn't use the word dick. At another middle school a teacher who had a bad case of the flu lost control of her bowels in front of her class. She must have been aware it was coming, because the diarrhea started in the middle of the room and there was a huge trail of it from the middle of the room to the hall. We have custodians, but another main guy and I were close by, so we cleaned it up. I felt bad for her. She went home, but was back a few days later, and stayed for the rest of the school year. I'm sure there are more stories. Been doing this for 20 years now. Had an autistic kid in our class, 2 teachers, myself included, who wasn't potty trained despite it being in a class level where he should have been. He shits himself. The other teacher is like, TNT, go get him changed, and I'll keep the kids busy. I take him to the bathroom and go to grab his backup pants. The other teacher shrieks because one of the other students is pelting toys at her. I go to take care of that mess. Takes me all of 30 seconds. I come back to autistic boy and he has stripped himself and smeared his shit all over the walls, toilet, sink, himself. It's a shit tornado. I almost quit that day. Understandable. Got asked what a tidwank was from a tiny nerdy 11-year-old boy whilst trying to teach him about safety on the internet. I told him it wasn't part of the syllabus and that it wasn't suitable to ask me. I don't know why, but I find that response both hilarious and professional. I've told this story several times, but here goes. I was an occasional substitute teacher in the town where I went to college. The band director often requested me to come teach if she was out sick, since I was a music major and could work with the kids on their parts. Get in for a day, and my instructions were to break the kids up by section and have them practice their parts. I spent the next hour listening to a miasma of sounds from woodwinds, brass, strings, etc. but no drumming. If you don't know any drummers, they're always playing or banging on their laps, tables, steering wheels, etc. Curious me goes to investigate the drum room, and I walked in on the token female drummer flashing her breasts to the boys in exchange for money. Another couple minutes, there probably would been some banging. Was volunteering in a kindergarten classroom. Was going through some old papers and found a letter from one of the mothers to the teachers explaining a bathroom incident. It went something like this. Kinshiro was in the bathroom stall peeing in the toilet when another student climbed under the stall. Kinshiro got very nervous at the sight of the boy and lost control of his pee. He peed on the student's face because he was very scared. Please do not punish Kinshiro. My sweet lord. I'm Kinshiro. Well, no, I'm Dembones, but this happened to me in grade 1. I was doing my best to pee and the urinal I was very short, so I was happy that I got the stream going upward in a nice arc. There was some yelling, and a kid grabbed me from behind and tried to spin me around, and another kid was sitting on the floor, half under the next urinal. Just as a teacher walked in to see what the noise was, I was standing over this poor kid and peeing all over the front of him. And he was peeing straight up, with it also landing all over him. I was a very shy kid and very well behaved, so I think the teacher understood that the rowdy kid had something to do with my odd position. But my mom later asked me why I peed on Billy. I told her that Cassie turned me around. I didn't get in any trouble, but poor Billy. A juice smelling pee all over the guy. I will take this a different direction. My first week of teaching had its ups and downs. I was teaching a PE class and had a new kindergarten class for the first time. A few minutes into class, a little 5-year-old boy raises his hand. Mr. Cowtipper, I have a problem. My pee-pee is really hard right now, and I don't know what to do. Holding in every ounce of laughter I had, I told him I was sorry and that we would talk about his problem in a few minutes. Not long after he raises his hand again. Yes, Caleb. Don't worry. It's not a problem anymore. He tells me with the biggest smile on his face. Gotta love teaching elementary.